Om Gurubhyo Namo Namah. Om Ganeshaya Namo Namah. Om Ved Purushaya Namo Namah. Om Bhakdevyai Namo Namah. Om Saraswatyai Namo Namah. Om Maya Devyai Namo Namah. Om Angirasaya Namo Namah. Om Kapilaya Namo Namah. Om Gargaya Namo Namah. Om Vedavyasaya Namo Namah. Om Dharmaya Namo Namah. Om Matra Sakyai Namo Namah. Om Sri Radha Krishnabhyam Namo Namah. My humble pranam to all the audience, now and future audience, and my pranam to Rajiv Verma ji for all the help and support and providing this platform, and also Mr. Piyush Pandey, who will be coordinating, recording this lecture series. Thank you all. Welcome back to this second lesson. My dear listeners, also if you look at the screen, the last line, these videos and talks will be available also to you at classroom.google.com. So you can go back and look at there. At this classroom website also you can post your questions. So I can answer those questions. So those answers and those questions will be available to all those who have registered on the classroom. Let's take journey further, continue our journey. This is a very important topic, which is being now also talked about in India. And I think it's going to be a kind of a big topic and big subject that has to be looked at it comprehensively, carefully, with all the dimensions with it, because now there are voices being raised that this secularism term, the way it has been introduced in 1976 during emergency, must be taken out of the Constitution. So let's look at that very important topic that we are working on it. And I can request all of you to be aware of the following. Some of the articulation, some of the words and the language that I will be using definitely is going to be authentic. It's going to be powerful. It may sound offensive, but truth and facts can be also looked at from this aspect. With due respect to all the authors and writers that I'm going to quote, I will be critiquing their understanding of their thought process, the ideas behind their thought process. And with due respect to them, I do not intend at all to personally individual personality to be criticized, or my critiques should not be understood or taken as a personal attack on any individuals that we will encounter during this series. Only I'm critiquing their ideas, their basis for their ideas, their articulation as I understand, and I will keep my Bhakta Dharma in front without any violations of my duties and responsibilities. So with this in mind, this is the kind of brief syllabus we have been talking about. And based on this syllabus, we will continue on this lecture series of 5 lectures. From the previous lecture, this is how in the West, the term secularism is understood. Thomas Jefferson was one of the most brilliant founders who participated actively, who wrote the War of Independence, the document, and he participated actively in all these debates. And he wrote a note here. Millions of innocent men, women, children since the introduction of Christianity have been burned, tortured, fined, imprisoned, and molested, yet we have not advanced 1 inch towards humanity. What has been the effect of coercion? To make one half of the world fools, another half hypocrites, to support error and roguery all over the earth. Please keep in mind this is the most powerful and authentic statement against the religions, and introduce what he called term wall of separation between religions and state, but was defined more appropriately by the Supreme Court Emerson versus Board of Education Act 1947. What is the wall of separation between church and state? Whether the federal or state must not establish support a church, aid one religion or all religions, coerce individuals to attend or avoid religious services, or punish individuals based on their religious beliefs or practices. This is how it has been understood in America and the West. Let's look at the Indian Constitution and dilemma and adopted doctrine of secularism called Dharma-led, a brief but important reflection. Let's look at the preamble of the Constitution of India, the original one. I am just reading through it as it has been established. It was adopted on November 26, 1949. Then it had 395 articles and 80 schedules. Preamble. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, liberty, equality. Justice means social, economic, political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuming the dignity of individual and the unity of nation. In our Constitute Assembly, do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this Constitution. So this was the original preamble of the Constitution. Now, 42nd amendments, which were introduced in September 1976, it was the emergency time introduced by H.R. Gokhale. And opposition was not present, it appears, during that time when this amendment was introduced and adopted in the Congress. The 42nd Amendment changed the description of India from a sovereign democratic republic to a sovereign socialist secular democratic republic. Socialist and secular, these two words were added during the emergency time, and also changed the words unity of nation to the unity and integrity of the nation. Please note, implicit notions, church-state separation and interreligious equality has been introduced, and the terms socialist and secular were not defined at all. Now, there were a lot of, after the emergency was over, Janta government introduced 45th Amendment Bill to define these terms secularism and socialism. And they were defined at the time like this. The expression republic as qualified the expression secular means a republic in which there is equal respect for all religions. So secularism is defined as equal respect for all religions. And the expression republic as qualified the expression socialist means a republic in which there is freedom for all forms of freedom from all forms of exploitation, social, political, and economic. These are the actual wordings of the bill introduced, which is 45th Amendment Bill. But this bill was voted down in Rajya Sabha because Congress was in majority and remained these two terms, secular and socialist, remained undefined till today. Now let's look at the incarnations and transformation of the word secular. A recent, very significant example, December 6, 1992, demolition of Babri structure in Ayodhya. And after the demolition, central government has taken over the land. And this was under the Ayodhya Act of 1963. Main ground was secularism and attendant rights of freedom of religion and equality. Dr. M. Ismail Qureshi, other party, challenged this. Taking over by government, the main ground was, and the secularism and the freedom of religion, that was challenged the Supreme Court. This action of the central government was challenged in the Supreme Court. Majority view by Justice G.S. Verma defines the secularism like this: holding the act valid through the tracing the meaning of secularism based on the address by Dr. Shankar Dayal Sharma, the President of India. Look at the personalities involved defining the secularism. Dr. Sharma's understanding after stressing the difference between our understanding and that in the West, he addresses that secularism for us denotes sarva dharma sambhav, an approach of tolerance and understanding of the equality of all religions. Notice the language. Sarva dharma sambhav means equality of all religions. Furthermore, this philosophical approach, understanding coexistence and tolerance, the very spirit of our ancient thought. I have been noting down for you all the relevant, powerful references as we go along. So, incarnation of the term secular are the following: Sarva Dharma Sambhav, Dharma Nirpeksh, Panth Nirpeksh, equality of religions, all religions are true. Now, these fundamental incarnation and redefinitions of the secular term, you can distinguish them from the secular term which is used in the Western liberal democracies. Fundamentally different. For Christianity, for example, because we have a pluralistic tradition, we have a Hindu worldview and various Hindu religious traditions. When you define the term Hindu, we will do later on, but term Hindu does include the Jains, the Buddhists, the Sikh tradition, in other traditions which originated, which are indigenous to Indian traditions, Indian soil. But we also have the Christianity and Islam. But Christianity, the non-Abrahamic faiths, the Hindu traditions are satanic and devilish. The followers are called heathens or pagans, so they must be converted to be saved. This is their fundamental notion of the religions and their understanding and interpretation of the Hindu traditions. For Islam, similarly, the followers of other faiths are kafirs, so must be converted by any means, including killing. Very important. So how these two traditions, Christianity and Islam, which are part of the Abrahamic traditions, how do they see the Hindu Dharmic traditions or Sanatan Dharmic traditions? So there's a fundamental animosity and hatred against the Hindu tradition by these Christian tradition and Islamic traditions. So the question came up really when you look at the term defined secular, it becomes a very, very serious and dangerous issue, the way the secular term has been incarnated and understood and implemented in the interpretations of the Indian Constitution. So modern secular constitution which India adopted were almost entirely based on the experiences, assumptions born out of the social, philosophic, and religious and political experiments of Christendom. Let's look at the background against framing the Indian Constitution. The Sir V.N. Rao was the primary individual who was assigned the task to look at the constitutional precedents of all the words that he could get into. He looked at the constitutions of these countries and others: USA, Switzerland, Weimar Germany, Yugoslavia, Turkey, Czechoslovakia, Poland, Ireland, Austria, Belgium, Denmark, Estonia, Lithuania, Liechtenstein, Australia, Canada, South Africa, USSR, China, Albania, Portugal, Greece, Costa Rica, Bulgaria, Brazil, and others, as well as the available Act, Government of India Act of 1935. Look at I think Dean Roy, he looked at, studied, prepared the notes and presented to the Constitutional Committee. Almost from entire the world, wherever he could find the constitutional democracy. The shocking truth is this: even in framing the Constitution of Free India, the framers looked at every corner of the world except Indian sources for structuring and shaping future India. The documents laid before the Constituent Assembly clearly indicated there was no indigenous input in shaping and making the Constitution for the Indian people. It is therefore evident that the fundamental philosophy that shaped the Constitution of India was almost exclusively alien. It completely discarded all the native methods and models on which this civilization had functioned underground for thousands of years. My comments: what a tragedy. No reference, no input from ancient Indian sources such as Mahabharata, Ramayana, Charakanis, Vidurnis, Jain and Buddhist sources, and many other Rajnit Shastras and statecraft manuals which have been developed and followed for last 3,000 years in India. That is the tragedy. And very dangerous tragedy happened. So the present constitution that you see in Indian constitution, it is a Indian constitution. It is not a Bharati constitution, my dear listeners. Major concerns about secularism. All the indigenous dharmic traditions are degraded to be identified as religions. So dharma becomes identified religions by degrading it in its entire quality, entire worldview. While the Christian Islamic religions were fundamentally and artificially received recognition as dharmic at par with the indigenous dharmas. Therefore, all became religions. All became true, yet the Hindu gods and goddesses and the deities in the temple remains the false gods, which are denoted as idols. Consequently, they must be destroyed and humiliated. That's what actually happened by defining and incarnating secularism within the discussions and the ideas as we indicated in the decision made by the Constitutional Bench and proposed by Dr. Sharma, president at the time, and others, thinkers and writers. The Indus people must be converted by any means, including brutal, torturous practices. If not, then annihilation is permitted. Bharati indigenous civilization has no right to exist. It has to be Islamic or Christian. Grievance of majority Hindus that rules, regulations, restrictions are applicable only to their dharmic institutions. Appeasement of radical Orthodox Christians and Muslim groups and institutions. All the ideas regarding the new definition of secularism are applicable only to the Hindu dharmic traditions, not to other traditions which are the Christian tradition or Islamic traditions present in India for a long, long time. I will give you one very concrete encounter. My encounter with a friend of mine who was a fatherly figure, who was the one of the economic advisors in UNO, Dr. Krishnamurthy. Two of his uncles were prestigious attorneys in Madras, and they were the members of the Constitutional Committee. And I asked him if they had consulted, for example, Mahabharata, where a lot of ideas, information is given on the principle of statecraft, dharmic statecraft. And he told me there were brilliant attorneys, but there were zero in our own ancient traditions of statecraft. They did not know anything, almost anything about it. So this is the real background behind some of these members, prominent members of the Constitutional Committee, responsible for forging out and making a constitution of what he called independent India. Propagation of religion, large-scale religious conversion by Muslims and Christians, especially in the tribal belts and among other poor people, that continued, still continue. Provision of unjustified protection to minority educational institutions. Policy of appeasement is prevalent. Hindu practice has become communal and non-secular, while Christian and Islamic practice has become secular. Look at the fundamental paradox, fundamental issues, especially under the guise of minorities. A term remains still undefined in the Constitution. What a tragic and dangerous incarnation of the word secular within the Indian context and within the context of Indian Constitution and its many provisions. More serious issues will be discussed in the future lectures, so hold on to it. Some pertinent background notes. There are three visions which have been in the working phase for a long, long time against Bharat. So you have to understand very sincerely, very carefully the background and and many times hidden intentions which remains hidden for some time, and they are openly available too through their speeches, through their documents, through their publications. But we, the Hindus, their leaderships, usually ignore them at the great peril. Vision 1, this is the Islamic imperialism. India has to be brought to the light of Islam, converted into a Dar al-Islam, Dar al-Islam. Vision 2, Christian imperialism. India has a land of darkness, of heathenism, of paganism, of unbelievers. It said that the light of Christianity had to be brought to India and that India had to be converted into the land of Christ. Vision 3, communism, socialism with various shades. They call themselves liberator of India. Which India? How they define the India? Colonial and semi-colonial society, exploited and exploiting class, oppressed and oppressed class and caste, oppressors. This is how the Vision 3. So the communistic ideology, socialistic ideology, and many other shades, they're trying to force the India to leave out all the dharmic traditions and become what country? They themselves do not know what their new vision will bring, what kind of country. If you look at the world around, all these ideology which have been imported into India, in their original source, in their original ground where they came out to be, they all collapsed. So you see the contradictions and conflicts and the seriousness of these kind of imported ideas to be thrust upon, to be grafted on the Hindu civilization. Islamic agenda, very clear. Maulana Sabir Ahmad Usmani speech in Lahore, 1946, just before the partition. Just as Medina had provided a base for eventual victory of Islam in Arabia, Pakistan would pave the way for triumphal return of Islam as the ruling power of the entire subcontinent. The whole of Hindustan would thus be turned into Pakistan, just as the Prophet himself had turned all of the Arabia into Pakistan. He went so far as to make a Quranic case for the two-nation theory, based on the distinction struck between the believers, Mormons, and Kafirs, infidels, by the Islamic Prophet. All these ideas and similar ideas have been propagated in open during the struggle for independence of India. In fact, you can go back all the way to 1857. First struggle for independence of India. All these ideas were openly available to all the Hindu leaders, Indian leaders, Congress leaders. And they are still very powerful. This is the intent which remains hidden for some time, but now this is coming up again and again and again. This is the agenda which no longer is hidden. If we want to dig in for any of us to look at, either the whole India must be converted to Christianity or it must be converted to Islam. There is no third choice. And what they have been doing during the Islamic period of 800 years or so, jizya, capitation tax on non-Muslims, according to Quran 9.29. Fight those who believe not in Allah, nor the last day, nor hold that forbidden which has been forbidden by Allah and his apostle, nor acknowledge the religion of truth, even if they are people of book, until they pay jizya with willing submission and feel themselves subdued. Jimmi is a member of Ahlu Jumma, a non-Muslim subject of a Muslim government called the Jimmi. So, disabilities imposed on Jimmi is a short list. So, those who are non-Muslim, but they are subjected to Muslim government, the jizya has to be paid by them, and they are the Jimmis, and what they have to be subjected to. They will not build new idol temples. Remember here, idol, I-D-O, idol. Whenever you use the term idol, it means false gods. Never use, please, the term idol. In private talks, in publication, in public talks, this term is used even by so-called intelligent people. Many publications, through internet, through print news media, all kinds of, still they use idol, never use idol for Hindu deities. They are the deities of Vigraha in the temple. They are not idol. As soon as you use the word idol means false gods. This is what they want us to use, false gods. They will not rebuild any existing temple which may have fallen into despair. Muslim travelers will not be prevented from staying in temples. Jimmis will neither act as spies nor give spies shelter in their houses. Jimmis will not dress like Muslims. They will not ride horses with saddle and bridle. They will not possess swords, bows, and arrows. They will not openly sell or drink intoxicating liquor. They will not abandon their traditional dress, which is a sign of their ignorance, in order they may be distinguished from Muslims. They will not openly practice their traditional customs amongst Muslims. They will not build their house in the neighborhood of Muslims. They will not carry or bury dead near Muslim graveyards. They will not mourn their dead loudly. They will not, I'm sorry, the spelling is wrong. They will not buy Muslim slaves, and so on and on and on. This has been quoted in the history of Sufism in India, quoted by Sitaram Goel, and original references Jakritu Muluk. It was the Sufi saints. Nowadays, Sufism, these are the very religious people, very, very humble people. They tolerate the Hindu tradition. All this is really hocus pocus. It's a really what I will call is a full of dark ignorance and stupidity. It was the Sufi saint who initiated the struggle for the establishment of Islamic State in India. Many Hindus who had no illusions about prophetic Islam have very soft corner for the Sufis, whom Islam has been presenting as a saint for the past so many years. But the painful truth is that mystic dimension of the Islam has always been ideological arsenal of Islamic imperialism. Here are the specimens I am presenting in front of you. And Indian Sufism anti-Hindu polemics began with Muhyiddin Chishti. Early Sufis in the Punjab and early Chistis devoted themselves to task of conversion on a large scale. Ahmad Sirhindi, 1564-1624, foaming at the mouth against Akbar's policy of peace with Hindus, write out of several books, letters to powerful courtiers in the reign of Akbar and Jahangir. The slogan he had raised for his contemporaries, Ahiriyat can be fostered through the sword. Use sword to convert Hindus of all shades and colors. Cow sacrifice in India is noblest Islamic practices. Though cow sacrifice is the in India noblest Islamic practices, so this is what they have been taught: cow sacrifice. It means kill the cows. Islamic practice is noble, but in Quran actually you will not find such a statement. After Guru Arjan Dev torture and death by Jahangir, he wrote that execution of accursed kafir Govindwal is an important achievement and is the cause of great defeat of Hindu. These are the ideas which were known at the time and is still known to all the Hindu leaders until they want to remain in deep darkness, that the practices of Sufis, their intentions, their collusions with the Islamic forces to subdue the entire Hindu civilization. Look at the recent one, very, very interesting one. How the empire never left us. An article by Shyam Bhatia. Shyam Bhatia is the London correspondent of the Tribune. It is published on July 20th, 2025. His father was one of the high-ups in the administration of the British government, and he has been with his father, carefully observing, experiencing. He also had a degree from, I think, North Carolina University. So he had a big, a great experience of that era, including the contemporary era of the British imperialistic tendencies and what is happening in India. What the British Empire excelled at beyond conquest was gaslighting entire nations into submission. It did not just take land or gold, it made us question our tongues, our gods, our sense of worth. It told us we were lucky to be civilized, taught us to admire our abusers, and shamed us into silence. And so the eternal question, can we ever escape the empire if it still lives in our minds? This is a colonial mental slavery we still experience in our public life, in our private life, along majority of the people of India. And entire spectrum, whether you're talking about the leaders, whether intellectuals, academicians in different areas, majority of them are still under mental slavery. And this colonial mental slavery is not only political, it is intellectual, cultural, it has many dimensions. He was also at the Simla Club. He used to be member of Simla Club. And look at the Royal Simla Club. Dogs or Indians are equal in their status, in their intelligence, in their behaviors. What British Empire excelled at beyond conquest was gaslighting entire nations into submission. It did not just take land or gold, or it made us question our tongues, our gods, our sense of birth. It told us we are lucky to be civilized. Result was just not colonization, it was emasculation. We were trained to feel small, insignificant, even when we succeeded. Like Native Americans in the United States, we too were stripped of dignity and taught to vanish, not physically, but culturally. This is the observation of Shyam Bhatia, first-hand observation as an intellectual, as a reporter, as a thoughtful person, as watching through the real thought process of the British during the colonial period. Where are the sources? Original, let me go back a little bit to original sources. Athens, Greece, AD 532. We are also called pagans. Now, how the pagans look at it? We see the same star, the sky is shared by all, same world surround us. What does it matter what wisdom a person uses to seek for truth? This is the worldview of pagans, ancient Greek and Roman traditions. They were called pagans by Christianity till the paganism was destroyed and annihilated from the Roman Greek world. Hindus are seen in the eyes of Christianity as pagans and heathens. These two terms are used. And kafirs in the eyes of Islam. That now look at what Saint Augustine, the first most prominent Christian theologian, says about the pagans and heathens. And the Hindus are pagans and heathens. Our non-Christians are pagans and heathens. That all superstitions of the pagans and heathens should be annihilated is what the God wants, God commands, God proclaims. Therefore, they must be converted and or annihilated. Otherwise, they are condemned to burn in the hellish fire forever. And I was watching a movie called Kesari in 2018. And it caught my attention, which I cannot forget, on one particular statement by an army official. This is a historically based movie, very, it became very popular, very authentic movie. The British Army officer addressing the troop, and he says, "You Indians are born to be slaves. You Indians are born to be slaves and remain slave forever." That's the kind of rebuke and abuse and humiliating speech was given by one of the commanders, army commanders. This is what is still remains hidden in the minds of so many imperialistic writers, thinkers. And that gave rise to conversion. That redefining all the religions are true, all the religions are same. When secularism became this gave rise to what you call a conversion on even mass scale. Right of Christian to propagate religion, that is the Article 25, had become their right to convert people, and that included minor children. August 15, 1948, to establish diplomatic relations with Vatican, with the Pope and the Rome. Mr. Dheeraj Lal Desai, the first Indian ambassador to Holy See after the independence of India, he testified to the India's great reverence for Christ. India, according to Desai, was a new state created by sacrifices of the people, guided by one who sought to mold his life according to the message of Christ, and who had affirmed the oneness of God and the greatness of religious ideal proclaimed by in the Sermon on the Mount. So, my dear friend, this is what the first Indian ambassador to Vatican City testified, that the message of Christ will be supreme under what you call the right to convert people, oneness of God is a camouflage. Which God? The Christian God? Indian gods and goddesses are false, so needed to be destroyed, and heathens must be converted to serve only Christ. All this is documented, my dear listeners. Just a beautiful, powerful reminder to all of us. The power of words and their inherent ideas, when brought into practice, can give birth to a new civilization and empires. And it can also bring their demise and collapse. Indian civilization is in a mode of crisis. Yet it has a Sanatana Dharma foundation that can give rise to a new birth through its hidden powers of doctrine, continuity with innovations, provided the people together get engaged in with full commitment to the dynamic principles of Lokasamgraha Yogadharma. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno Yatra Partho Dhanodhara. Tatra Sivayagu Bhutir Dhulavi Nirmatir Mama. So, my concluding remarks, concluding thoughts, and concluding prayers with all together. Let us sing together, let us dance together, let us learn together, let us eat together, let us serve together, let us celebrate together, let us act together to save Bharati civilization, to be a beacon to the world. Otherwise, life can become absurd, meaningless. Remember always, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna. Can we aspire to become dharmic warriors like Pandavas? If we can, through tan man dhan, then we can enlighten, then we can hope for a renaissance of Bharati civilization, ending the Indian or India and its associated meanings. Please let us write together, let us be awake together, get rid of mental slavery and do the Karma Yoga, establish a new enlightening society in history. Thanks a lot. requesting for your forgiveness. Satyameva Jayate, Satyameva Jayate, Satyameva Jayate. Thank you so much. I stop here now, my dear listeners, and I ask for your forgiveness for any offenses that you might have experienced during this lecture. And I will request you to have some questions. You can also post questions on the classroom website. And please take these lessons very seriously. This is my request with folded hands to all of you, to the future audience. Please share all these lectures to other family and friends. It's very important, very, very critical. This is a world geopolitical crisis that the world is going through. They had to be watchful, and we had to become karmyogi. Knowledge, wisdom, very, very important to act accordingly. Thank you so much. My dear listeners, I'm stopping my sharing, and then we can have what you call the...
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Hello.
Yes, Shivaji. If anyone wants to ask something, then you can please unmute yourself and say. जी, please, Mahendra ji.
Mahendra, please raise your question. I think his...
Please unmute yourself, Mahendra ji.
The question is, as you know, we are member of BSNA. What can we do there? The convention is coming on August 8 and 10. What would be your advice? What can we discuss, or how can we help the cause which you have so eminently described today?
I'm sorry, I could not catch your question. What is it coming on 8th and 10th?
Is the BSNA convention?
Yeah, okay, yes.
And we will be meeting there.
Actually, I think, Mr. Ji, you have raised a really great question. It's a really great question. And unfortunately, I will not be able to be present in person. I think I have requested, based on the Dr. Ajay Pandey, if I could give a lecture there through Zoom. And I was told that, that's not going to be feasible. But what I will suggest to Dr. Mishra, that more and more people come to know about these facts. More and more people can share these ideas. More and more than people will become aware of the kind of issue that the Hindu civilization is facing. Simply, so I would really suggest you to make them aware of that how we can work together and propagate these ideas and make these ideas available even to younger generation, because that's very important. If we cannot really feed these ideas, discuss these ideas, and have a I think if they can plan for a separate meeting through Zoom only for the younger generation with their own question related to all these ideas, I will be more than happy to spend my time and energy. This has been a really great problem that lot of us, majority of people of Indian origin who are very thoughtful, want to make positive changes, they cannot come together on one platform, unfortunately. And this is our serious weakness. So we have to really work together and focus together and have a commitment rather than we are too much disjointed. This temple doing this temple doing very good. They are doing great job, temples. But temples are not doing all that they need to do to make us aware of the fact that there are dangers lurking just around the corner. If we do not do the karma yoga, if we do not take active interest in and mold our younger generation towards thinking critically with knowledge and wisdom.
Thank you. And let me think it over. And if I can figure out a way, I'll try at the convention and get in touch with you, Dr.
That's
Chaturvedi.
Please do so.
Yeah,
I really bow down to your commitment and tell others about it, that they should really be alert enough.
Thank you again,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Chaturvedi.
Any other question? Your questions are very important as the talk itself, because that gives us a better understanding, a deeper understanding, a broader understanding of the issues that we have been talking about. So please read your questions.
If anyone has any question, please feel free to ask.
The next meeting, I think, is going to be Piyush ji is on August 9th. Is that correct?
Ji.
If I'm right, on the same platform and the same Zoom IDs and password. Please do join. Bring your friends and family. More and more people join. I think this will be better for making larger sections of the society aware of these facts. So I would appreciate very much. Yes, there is another question.
The slides will be shared.
Can the slide recording be shared? Yes, it will be available, I think,
Classroom.
on the
Google Classroom.
classroom website. So Piyush, can you post that information?
Ji, I posted above. Yeah, I'm posting again.
Okay. Any other question? Yeah, so this is the link he has posted. And also Piyush, I will suggest you in the first YouTube posting link. I think the initial invocation was missing.
Ji.
So make sure the initial invocation goes with every posting.
Ji, sir.
And also, I would suggest you that on the classroom, I will give you some suggestion later on. I will send it to you. Any other questions or comments? If not, then we can bind off.
जी जी I think nobody has any question.
Okay. Okay, let's
जी we can end.
bind
जी
it
we
off.
can end this session.
Yeah.
जी